So September is here and we're trying to figure out what do we do in September. August is hot. A lot of times September we're carrying in that heat. So early season, we're really not planting a lot. We're ideally going to be planting a lot of our seeds late September. And when you start looking at seeds, try to find seeds that are sometimes all season or early harvest, or even a long harvest seed. So I'm looking at like an all season broccoli, an early season cabbage, and even an early season fall rapini broccoli. All these are good ones to get started early, just in case we get those heat spells that pop up early. So in September, as we start looking at amending soil, we actually might want to go a little bit lighter on organic matter. The reason why is as we look at weather, usually we're going to start getting rains, our daylight hours are shrinking, so we do want that soil to drain a little bit better. The way we get it to drain a little bit better is by having a sandier soil with a little less organic matter. Although it might be a little on the warm side, it is not a great time to plant natives. The rule of thumb is if it's too hot to dig the hole, it's too hot to plant. But what September is great for is going to buy those natives that might be hard to find in fall or winter. This time of year is a great time for them to be growing. They're getting a lot of new growth on them. A lot of the companies have a lot of availability, but as we get into colder times of the year, there's not a lot available. So going out and buying those smaller plants that you have, maybe upsizing them in a larger container, getting them to grow a little bit more. So that way when you're ready to plant in fall, you have your collection and it's ready to go. So September is also sometimes a very muggy, warm time of year, and we're dealing with a lot of bugs and even powdery mildew. Every day we have people coming in asking us about powdery mildew. Best time to treat powdery mildew is sometimes more so in the winter time, but what we're trying to do now is to slow down powdery mildew. We're trying to outgrow it and trying just to hold it at bay. The ways we do that, one spray that I like to use is a sulfur-based spray. So what's really cool about sulfurs is it changes the pH enough that it kills bacteria. So we're putting these on our leaves, the top, the bottom, the stems, and the soil around. This will slow down powdery mildew. I've never seen anyone get rid of powdery mildew this time of year. These are just a couple little tips in September on how do we get rid of powdery mildew. Also in September, we do have those white moths flying all over the place. Here at the nursery, we see them, we're just like, oh, there's another moth, there's another moth. And what that means is those moths are laying hundreds of eggs, and what those eggs are doing are putting those little holes in your leaves and your veggies. It's very annoying. Sometimes what we try, and the best organic way of doing this is to get rid of them, is just kind of going on the bottom leaves and picking them off, maybe feeding them your chickens, maybe tossing them elsewhere to give them a chance, but not a chance in your garden. If you feel like you are getting overwhelmed and there's just so many of those little cabbage moths, a BT spray, this is a very selective way to get rid of caterpillars in your garden, and it is a bacteria. What you'll probably do is in the evening time, you might want to go out with your favorite drink or even a good podcast or some nice music, and you're going to be spraying this on the top of the leaves. What's cool about this is it doesn't have to go on hitting the caterpillars. As you hit the top of the leaves, they're going to be eating it and digesting it, and that's what kind of gets them in the end. But we do this in the evening time because this bacteria does not like sunlight. All right, so we'd love to hear about what you guys have going on in September in your guys' gardens, or even with your chickens, with any of the fruit trees that you guys have. It's always fun hearing and sharing about those. Personally myself, what I'm doing is I'm trying to combat powdery mildew myself. I stopped watering all my veggies. I kind of called time out on my garden because it is so hot, it was so buggy that I decided to cut all my plants down to the soil height. I don't rip out the root systems. I go ahead and put down like a sulfur spray, and then I get some black trash bags and I lay them out on top of my garden. So that way the soil becomes solarized. It's gonna kill the first 1 or 2 inches where that powdery mildew's at. So hopefully by next year I have less of a problem. I hope you guys have a great September.